The space station hung quietly above the green and blue swirl of the planet below, a floating city of metal and lights that reflected in the endless black of space. It was one of the busiest stations in the quadrant, a hub for trade, research, and diplomacy between multiple alien civilizations. Among its corridors walked beings of every shape and size, but one species always drew curious glances: humans. They were rare in this part of the galaxy, their presence often accompanied by whispers of admiration, confusion, or doubt. Lyra, an officer of the station, thrived on observing those whispers. Her kind was taller and more agile than humans, their minds trained to process vast amounts of information in moments. Lyra herself was sharp, quick, and had a playful streak that often got her in trouble. But she liked it that way. She had a reputation for teasing, for finding amusement in situations others would find serious, and she had discovered a new source of amusement: a human named Alex. Alex was an engineer assigned to the station. He was of average human height, slightly lean, with dark hair that fell in a way that looked perpetually messy. But appearances aside, what made him stand out wasn't the way he looked. It was the calm certainty he carried in everything he did. He wasn't flashy. He didn't boast about his skills, and he didn't act afraid, even when surrounded by creatures more powerful and more intelligent than himself. That calm, Lyra realized, made him different from most of the humans she had observed. It started in the training hall. Lyra had been passing by while Alex was performing a routine calibration of a gravlift device. She watched silently for a moment, her sharp eyes catching every motion he made. There was an elegance in the way he handled the equipment, a careful precision that reminded her of the legendary engineers from old human tales she had read about in the station library. But instead of simply acknowledging his skill, a mischievous thought entered her mind. She stepped forward, deliberately letting her presence be noticed. "What are you doing, human?" she asked, her voice light and teasing. Alex looked up, barely startled, and offered a polite nod. "I'm calibrating the gravlift," he said, his voice calm, almost monotone. "It should be complete in 15 minutes. Lyra smiled, but it wasn't a warm smile. It was the kind that promised mischief. Without warning, she stepped closer and, with a flourish, sat on the edge of the platform he was working on, effectively pinning him beneath her weight. Alex froze for a fraction of a second but didn't panic. He adjusted the device's controls beneath him, careful not to break anything. "Excuse me," he said evenly, "but you're affecting the calibration." Lyra laughed, a musical sound that echoed in the hall. "Oh, I'm sure you can handle it," she said, shifting slightly to make him squirm. "Humans are supposed to be clever, aren't they?" He didn't argue. He continued working, focusing on the task, his movements precise despite the unusual pressure. Other officers in the hall paused to watch, some suppressing chuckles, others shaking their heads. Lyra's playful act had captured the attention of everyone in the room, and yet Alex remained composed. "Interesting," Lyra murmured to herself, tilting her head. She hadn't expected him to remain so calm. Most beings would have reacted with panic, struggle, or anger. But Alex? He adapted to the situation without complaint. There was a quiet strength in that, a confidence she hadn't anticipated. Minutes passed. Lyra, growing bored, lifted herself and stepped aside, letting Alex return to normal operations. He didn't look up, didn't make a comment about her behavior. He just continued like it was nothing. Lyra's amusement shifted slightly, into curiosity. Over the next few days, she found herself observing him more often. She would pop into his work area, lean over his shoulder, sometimes make casual jokes, or place objects in inconvenient spots just to see how he would react. Every time he remained calm, methodical, and surprisingly resourceful. And every time Lyra felt a strange tug in her chest, an unfamiliar mix of admiration and something else she couldn't name. One evening, as the station floated silently above the planet, Lyra decided to push the teasing further. The training hall was empty, and the hum of machinery created a private stage. Alex was running diagnostic tests on the life support systems, adjusting panels and checking the readings. Lyra, with a grin, approached from behind and, without warning, jumped onto his back, sitting squarely as he bent over the console. Alex let out a soft exhale but didn't make a fuss. He continued typing in commands, his fingers moving quickly across the controls. "Lyra," he said calmly, Your weight is affecting the calibration. Please adjust your position. Lyra laughed, enjoying the sound of her own mischief. And what if I don't? Can you handle it? She teased, leaning back slightly to see his reaction. Alex didn't answer immediately. Instead, he shifted his body, distributing her weight carefully to avoid damaging any of the delicate equipment. I can manage, he said finally, his tone neutral. But there was an underlying confidence that made her pause. It wasn't just that he was capable. It was the way he remained composed under pressure, the way he treated the situation logically instead of reacting emotionally. Lyra realized with a slight shiver that this human might be far more than just a target for her games. Her teasing became a challenge. She started testing him in other ways, placing obstacles in his path, creating minor distractions while he worked, even attempting harmless tricks during training exercises. Each time Alex adapted, solved the problems, and sometimes even surprised her with solutions she hadn't considered. He was clever, quick-thinking, and brave in ways she hadn't expected from a human, and yet despite his competence, he never tried to make her feel guilty or embarrassed. He didn't retaliate with pranks or sarcasm. He simply continued calmly and efficiently, treating her teasing as a minor obstacle rather than a personal attack. That balance of skill, intelligence, and calmness made Lyra's amusement mix with respect and a little uncertainty about her own feelings. One evening, as the station's artificial sun dimmed into its night cycle, Lyra found herself leaning against a railing, watching Alex move through the corridors. She wasn't planning a prank this time. She was observing. His focus, his determination, his quiet confidence, it all left her feeling oddly vulnerable. She had spent so long relying on her quick reflexes and wit to navigate life that she rarely felt unsettled. But watching him, she realized that her games, her teasing, her laughter, all of it had led to a discovery she hadn't expected. Humans were unpredictable, capable, and perhaps even extraordinary. As she turned to leave, she caught herself smiling. She knew she would return tomorrow, perhaps with another playful challenge, perhaps just to see him work. But deep down, she realized something had changed. Alex was no longer just a human to tease. He was someone she needed to understand, someone she couldn't predict, someone whose calm confidence made her tremble in a way her own skills never had. For the first time in a long while, Lyra felt truly intrigued, and maybe a little afraid of what that intrigue might mean. The station hummed softly around her, indifferent to the small drama unfolding within its walls. Stars sparkled beyond the windows, vast and eternal, and somewhere far below, the planet continued to spin in silence. Lyra, perched on the edge of the railing, couldn't help but wonder. In this vast galaxy, in a place full of powerful beings and endless technology, how could one human have such an effect on her? The answer, she suspected, was that he wasn't just a human. He was something more, something remarkable. And the teasing had only just begun. The next morning, the station was alive with activity. Alien officers hustled along the corridors, machines hummed, and the distant stars reflected on polished metal surfaces. Lyra arrived at the engineering bay earlier than usual, curious about what Alex might be doing today. Her playful energy was already building. She had decided to challenge him further, but this time it would be more subtle. Alex was kneeling by a grav-lift maintenance console, his hands moving skillfully over panels and wires. His dark hair fell into his eyes, but he didn't pause or straighten it. To anyone else, he might have seemed ordinary, but Lyra knew better. His focus, his calm presence, his ability to solve problems without hesitation, it was rare, even among the most trained officers of the station. Lyra leaned against the doorway, waiting for the right moment. She didn't announce herself. She wanted to see if he noticed her presence. Surprisingly, he did without looking up. His hands continued to move over the console, but he added a slight adjustment, shifting a panel as if preparing for a small interruption. Lyra felt a thrill at the silent acknowledgement of her, like a secret connection between them. Deciding to escalate the teasing, Lyra tiptoed toward him and lightly jumped onto the platform beside him, causing it to tilt slightly under her weight. "Good morning, human," she said with a smirk. "Let's see if you can still manage without spilling your coffee or losing your balance." Alex's eyes flicked toward her, calm and focused. "Morning, Lyra. I've accounted for your weight," he said, his tone steady, almost teasing back. "Though I would appreciate it if you didn't press my sensors beyond recommended limits." Lyra laughed, enjoying the way he responded without panic. She leaned closer, careful not to disturb the delicate wiring, and observed him work. It was strange, she realized. Her usual antics, the teasing, even minor pranks, didn't shake him. They had no effect on his composure. It was as if he had a strength she couldn't understand, a quiet confidence that wasn't arrogance but something deeper. Her amusement shifted into fascination. She leaned back slightly, letting him adjust under her. The way he handled the situation with skill and precision made her realize something. He wasn't just clever. He was brilliant under pressure. Before she could dwell on it, the console emitted a soft alarm, a signal that a calibration had gone slightly off. Lyra's smirk faded as she watched him react. His hands moved quickly over the controls, rerouting power, stabilizing the system, and correcting the error in moments. The alarm silenced. Lyra felt a flicker of surprise. "Impressive," she said, her voice quieter than usual. Most beings would have panicked. Alex didn't look up. Most beings haven't been trained to expect the unexpected in the same way humans are, he said simply, his voice calm but firm. And most beings don't adjust under pressure, they react. Reacting isn't always the best solution. Lyra stared at him. His words were logical, almost clinical, but they carried a weight she hadn't anticipated. He was not just clever in solving technical problems. He had a strategic mind, one that could predict outcomes and control situations calmly. She felt a strange mix of admiration and unease. Then, almost playfully, Lyra decided to test him in a different way. She triggered a minor disruption in the grav lift platform, causing it to wobble slightly under their combined weight. It wasn't dangerous, but it required immediate attention to prevent damage. Lyra leaned back, curious to see how he would handle it. Alex didn't panic. Instead, he adjusted his stance, rebalancing the platform and recalibrating the system simultaneously. Within moments, the platform was stable, and all readings returned to normal. He glanced at her, raising an eyebrow slightly, almost amused. "You see," he said, "being calm under pressure isn't about ignoring problems. It's about seeing them clearly and responding efficiently." Lyra felt a shiver run down her spine, not from fear but from the realization that this human, this one she had intended to tease, was extraordinary in a way she hadn't expected. Her playful energy wavered, replaced by a mixture of respect, intrigue, and a hint of unease. Over the next few hours, they continued to work together on minor maintenance tasks. Lyra found herself observing him more than teasing him. She noticed the way he thought ahead, anticipating the next problem before it arose. The way he remained calm even when alarms sounded. The way he treated others with fairness, never arrogance, always patience. And then it happened. Something that made Lyra's heart race. While checking a structural interface, she accidentally touched a live power line. A surge of electricity shot through her and she stumbled slightly. Alex reacted instantly. In one smooth motion, he grabbed her, pulling her back from the panel, stabilizing her before she could fall. Lyra trembled, not from the electric shock, but from the swiftness, precision, and care of his reaction. Most beings, she thought, would have panicked or hesitated. But he didn't. He acted decisively, saving her from harm with calm confidence. "Are you all right?" he asked, his voice steady but concerned. I'm fine," she said, her usual bravado faltering slightly. She realized then that she had underestimated him. Not just his skill, but his courage, his composure, and his ability to act without hesitation. Lyra stepped back, feeling a strange warmth. She had spent so long teasing, testing, and challenging others that she rarely felt impressed by anyone. But Alex had earned it, not by winning a game or proving his intelligence, but by showing qualities she hadn't expected from a human. For the rest of the day, Lyra found herself thinking about him. Not as a target for amusement, not as a distraction, but as someone remarkable. The teasing, she realized, had led to something she hadn't anticipated: respect. And more than that, curiosity. She wanted to understand him, to see the limits of his abilities, and perhaps to see the depth of his character. Later, as the station settled into night mode, Lyra found herself walking through the observation deck, the stars sparkling beyond the glass walls. She could see the planet spinning below, oceans and continents bathed in the glow of artificial lights from cities she would never visit. And in her mind, she replayed the events of the day, the way Alex had handled every challenge, the way he had saved her without hesitation, the quiet confidence that radiated from him even when surrounded by chaos. It was strange. She thought how a human, someone so ordinary in appearance, could leave such a mark on her. She had always believed her wit, her agility, and her quick thinking were enough to impress or control those around her. But Alex had shifted something inside her. He had shown that calm intelligence and courage could be more powerful than any skill or trick. As she watched the stars, she realized one thing clearly. Tomorrow, she would return to the engineering bay. Not to tease, not to play games, but to work alongside him to see what more he was capable of. And maybe, just maybe, to understand why one human could make her tremble in a way that no alien, no skill, no challenge had ever done before. The night passed quietly, but Lyra didn't sleep easily. Thoughts of Alex lingered, a mix of respect, fascination, and something unfamiliar that made her heart beat a little faster. She had always enjoyed challenges, enjoyed teasing, enjoyed seeing others squirm. But this was different. This human wasn't just a challenge. He was a revelation. And as the station rotated silently above the planet, Lyra knew that the teasing had only just begun. But the game had changed. The human she had thought of as just a target for her amusement had become something else entirely. A mystery she wanted to understand. A mind she wanted to see in action, and perhaps unknowingly, a force that could shift the balance of her own heart. The station was quieter than usual that morning. Most officers were occupied with routine inspections and minor repairs, and the human sector, where Alex spent most of his time, was relatively empty. Lyra had been awake before the artificial sunrise, pacing the corridors as she considered her next interaction with him. Her previous teasing had revealed something unexpected, Alex's brilliance and calm under pressure. Today she wanted to see more, though she had no idea just how much more the day would bring. Alex was working on the station's energy conduits, inspecting the junctions that regulated power distribution across multiple sectors. He moved with methodical precision, his hands steady, his eyes scanning panels for even the smallest discrepancy. Lyra appeared quietly behind him, her presence barely noticed at first. She leaned against a nearby console watching him work. "Good morning, human," she said, breaking the silence with a teasing tone. "I hope you slept well." Alex glanced at her briefly, his expression calm. "Morning, Lyra. Sleep was sufficient. Though judging by your pacing, you didn't rest much yourself." Lyra smirked, pleased that he had noticed. "You always notice everything, don't you?" she said, leaning a little closer. "Let's see how well you handle a little challenge." Before he could respond, the station's main alarm blared. Red lights flashed across the walls and a loud mechanical voice repeated the warning. "Unidentified vessel approaching. Unknown origin. Prepare defensive protocols." Lyra's eyes widened slightly. This wasn't part of her plan. But Alex remained calm, his movements precise as he immediately began checking the status of the energy conduits and security systems. "Stay calm," he said evenly, though there was a hint of urgency in his voice. "We need to stabilize the systems before the vessel reaches the station. If power fails, we could lose control of the docking bays and defense grids." Lyra hesitated. Most beings, even seasoned officers, would panic in this situation. But Alex's calm command was like an anchor. She followed his lead, her usual teasing forgotten. Together they moved through the station, checking panels, rerouting power, and coordinating with other officers who had begun to respond in a panic. As the unidentified vessel approached, the station shook slightly. Small tremors ran through the metal corridors, causing equipment to rattle. Lyra caught herself sliding against a console, but Alex was already there, steadying her with a firm hand. "Keep moving," he said calmly. "Focus on the tasks, not the fear." Lyra felt a strange warmth in her chest. Not from romance, not from affection, but from awe. This human, who had been her target for teasing, was demonstrating courage, intelligence, and composure in a way that few aliens could match. She had underestimated him, and now, seeing him in action, she realized how extraordinary he truly was. The station's sensors picked up multiple points of entry from the approaching vessel. It wasn't just a small scouting ship. It was large, with unknown technology and unpredictable capabilities. Officers rushed to stations to prepare defenses, but coordination was shaky. Alex, however, remained methodical. He quickly assessed which sectors needed immediate stabilization and rerouted energy to reinforce shields and maintain station integrity. Lyra followed him, assisting as best she could. Her skills were impressive, but Alex's calm thinking made hers more effective. He instructed her where to divert power, how to stabilize critical systems, and which panels required immediate attention. She realized that in this moment, her teasing, her games, and her mischief had no place. She was witnessing true competence, and it was humbling. As the alien vessel drew closer, small sections of the station experienced power fluctuations. Warning lights flashed, and the hum of the energy conduits became uneven. Lyra saw officers begin to panic, some freezing, others shouting orders without strategy. Alex moved among them like a calm force of nature, correcting mistakes, stabilizing systems, and coordinating efforts with quiet authority. Suddenly, one of the conduits near the docking bay sparked violently. A small explosion sent debris across the corridor. Lyra reacted instinctively, ducking, but Alex was already there. In one swift movement, he pulled her out of the path of falling metal and redirected the energy flow to prevent further damage. Lyra's heart raced, not from fear, but from the sheer efficiency and courage of his actions. Most beings would have hesitated, unsure how to act. But Alex's mind worked faster than anyone else in the corridor, anticipating dangers before they occurred. "You okay?" he asked, glancing at her briefly before returning to his work. Yes, she managed, her voice slightly shaky. "I didn't expect—" "You're incredible." Alex nodded without pride. "Focus is more important than praise right now," he said, moving on to stabilize another sector. As the alien vessel came within visual range, the station shook again, stronger this time. Lights flickered, alarms blared, and officers scrambled to their positions. Lyra felt a moment of fear, but she pushed it aside. She had seen what Alex was capable of. He had saved them from worse scenarios already, and she trusted him to guide them now. Alex coordinated the defensive measures, rerouting shields and activating emergency protocols. He moved between panels with ease, making adjustments in seconds that would take others minutes or hours. Lyra assisted, following his instructions carefully, amazed at how seamlessly he integrated with the station's systems, despite being a human among advanced alien technology. Then the unexpected happened. One of the vessel's weapons fired a pulse at the station, targeting the sector near the central command hub. The blast caused a surge through the conduits, and a cascade of alarms went off simultaneously. Officers froze, unsure how to respond to the rapidly escalating emergency. Alex acted immediately. He directed Lyra and others to stabilize the conduits, while simultaneously recalibrating the energy shields. Sparks flew and the station shook violently, but he moved calmly, decisively, and efficiently. Lyra felt her own hands shaking as she followed his orders, but he never hesitated. He saved lives, prevented catastrophic damage, and kept the station operational under conditions that would have terrified most beings. And all the while, his calm voice provided direction, assurance, and focus. Minutes felt like hours. But finally, the alien vessel was pushed back, its attacks neutralized by the station's restored defenses. The alarms quieted, the lights stabilized, and the tremors ceased. Officers collapsed in exhaustion, some in relief, others in awe. Lyra, too, felt the weight of the experience settle in her chest. She turned to Alex, her usual teasing smirk replaced by genuine admiration. I didn't expect that," she said softly. "I didn't expect you to be capable of all this." Alex looked at her, still calm, though there was a faint weariness in his eyes. "It's what humans do," he said simply. "We adapt. We solve problems. We don't panic. It's not about being the strongest, it's about being effective when it matters most." Lyra trembled slightly, though she tried to hide it. Not from fear, but from realization. She had thought of humans as fragile, limited, and sometimes clumsy. She had teased him, pushed him, tested him, but now, seeing him in action, she understood that humans had a strength that went beyond physical ability or technological skill. It was in their mind, their courage, their calm under pressure. The aftermath of the attack left the station in controlled chaos. Repairs were underway and officers were debriefing. Lyra and Alex moved together, coordinating with teams and ensuring critical systems were stabilized. She found herself instinctively following his lead, trusting his judgment completely. For the first time, Lyra understood something she had never admitted before. She wasn't just drawn to tease him. She was drawn to his mind, his courage, and the calm strength that radiated from him even in the most dangerous situations. She had underestimated humans, and this human in particular, completely. As the station finally settled into a semblance of order, Lyra leaned against a console, watching him move among the teams. She could see the respect he commanded, not through authority or dominance, but through skill, calmness, and competence. Officers who had doubted humans before now glanced at him with awe, and Lyra felt a mixture of pride and humility. She realized that her teasing had led to this moment, though not in the way she expected. Alex had revealed something extraordinary, not just to her, but to the entire station. Humans could face danger, think clearly, and act decisively, even when the odds seemed impossible. Lyra's thoughts lingered on him long after the alarms had quieted. She had always enjoyed challenges in games, teasing and testing those around her. But Alex had become more than a challenge. He had become a revelation, a reminder that bravery, intelligence, and calm composure could come in forms she had never anticipated. And as the stars sparkled beyond the station windows, Lyra felt a trembling in her chest. Not from fear, not from excitement, but from a recognition of something deeper, something rare. Respect, admiration, and perhaps the first hint of something she had never felt before. The day's events had changed her perspective. Humans were no longer simply beings to tease or underestimate, and Alex, this human who had sat calmly under her playful weight, had proven that even the smallest, most unassuming individuals could hold the power to inspire, protect, and lead in ways that even the most advanced aliens could not. Lyra straightened, a renewed sense of curiosity and determination in her eyes. The station was quiet again, though the aftershocks of the recent attack still lingered. Officers moved with a careful rhythm, repairing systems and checking protocols. Lyra walked through the corridors, her mind unusually quiet for her standards. The events of the last day weighed on her, and she found herself reflecting on Alex, the human she had once teased for amusement, but who had now earned her respect in ways she could not ignore. She arrived at the engineering bay to find him already working. His hands moved over the controls with that same precision she had come to admire. His calm expression contrasted sharply with the urgency of the tasks around them. Lyra leaned against a console nearby, observing him silently. She realized she no longer felt like a playful instigator. She was simply captivated by his competence, his mind, and his courage. "Morning," she said softly, startling herself with the gentleness in her voice. Alex glanced at her, offering a small nod. "Morning, Lyra. I trust the repairs went smoothly last night?" "Mostly," she replied, though she could sense the tension in his calm demeanor. "It's been a long day." "Yes, but necessary," he said. "Chaos often reveals strengths we didn't know existed. Today was proof of that." Lyra frowned slightly. She had thought she knew what humans were capable of, but Alex had proven her wrong. He had faced danger, calculated solutions in moments, and acted decisively to save lives. He had done so without hesitation, without fear, without seeking praise. She realized that respect wasn't enough. She wanted to understand him, to see the depth of his abilities, and to witness the human capacity for courage and reasoning firsthand. The quiet hum of the station was interrupted by an incoming message from the command center. A small transport vessel had reported distress signals near the edge of the planet's atmosphere. Lyra turned to Alex, her usual playful grin returning, though tempered by seriousness. "Looks like trouble isn't finished with us," she said. Alex nodded. "Then we handle it. Calmly and efficiently," he said, his usual confidence shining through. They prepared for the mission together. Lyra had expected to be the one guiding him, teasing him as she often did. Instead, she found herself following his instructions, trusting his judgment implicitly. He assessed the vessel's condition, calculated the safest approach, and gave precise orders on how to stabilize it. Lyra was impressed, not surprised, but truly impressed. This human, who she had thought of as playful and ordinary, now commanded her full attention and respect. As they approached the distressed vessel, the situation became clearer. A minor collision with space debris had damaged its engines and life support systems. The crew was stranded, unable to maneuver, and the vessel was slowly descending toward the planet's atmosphere. Lyra felt a flicker of anxiety, but she pushed it aside. She had seen Alex in action before. He had a calmness that inspired confidence, even in the face of danger. "Follow my lead," he said quietly, glancing at her. "We'll stabilize the vessel and guide it safely to the docking bay. Lyra nodded, her heart unexpectedly quickening. She had followed his lead before, but today it felt different. There was a connection, a trust, and a growing admiration she hadn't anticipated. Working together, they managed to tether the vessel, reroute emergency power, and stabilize the life support systems. Alex's instructions were precise, his calculations flawless, and his presence steadying. Lyra found herself relying on him more than she had ever relied on anyone. The usual teasing, the playful games, all of that felt trivial in comparison to the efficiency and courage he demonstrated. Finally, the vessel was safely docked. The crew, shaken but unharmed, expressed their gratitude, but Alex responded simply, "Focus on recovery. That is what matters." His words were humble, but the impact of his actions spoke louder than praise ever could. Lyra stepped back, watching him. She felt a trembling in her chest, not from fear, not from danger, but from the realization of the human she had underestimated. He had proven himself extraordinary, not through physical prowess alone, but through intelligence, calm reasoning, and courage that inspired everyone around him. For the first time, Lyra saw humans differently. They were capable of great strength, not just in their physical abilities, but in their minds and hearts. Alex was living proof of that. He had faced danger calmly, solved impossible problems, and led others without hesitation. And in doing so, he had changed her perspective forever. As the day ended, Lyra and Alex returned to the station. The corridors were quiet, lit by the soft glow of artificial lights. Lyra walked beside him, her usual playful chatter replaced by thoughtful silence. She wanted to speak, to express her respect, her admiration, but words seemed insufficient. Finally, she stopped and turned to him. "Alex," she said, her voice steady but softer than usual. "Today you showed me something I hadn't expected. Humans, you're remarkable." Alex looked at her, his expression calm, though there was a faint warmth in his eyes. "We all have strengths, Lyra," he said simply. "Sometimes it just takes the right moment for them to be seen." Lyra smiled, a small, genuine smile. It was a rare expression for her, one without mischief, without teasing. "I think I underestimated you," she admitted. "I thought you were just a human to tease, someone ordinary. But you're extraordinary." Alex's calm demeanor softened slightly. "Thank you," he said. "I suppose it takes someone observant to notice it." Lyra felt a thrill at his words. She had always enjoyed teasing, challenging, and testing others. But Alex had taught her a different lesson. That strength could be quiet, steady, and unexpected. That courage didn't always roar. It sometimes whispered, steady and unwavering. Over the next few days, their bond deepened. Lyra no longer sought to tease him. Instead, she observed, assisted, and learned from him. She noticed the subtleties in his thinking, the precision in his actions, and the calm confidence that made others trust him instinctively. In moments of minor crises or technical adjustments, she found herself relying on his judgment, impressed by his ability to remain unshaken when everyone else would falter. And Alex, in turn, appreciated her energy, her curiosity, and her willingness to engage directly with challenges. He didn't see her as a source of trouble or distraction. He respected her skills and her sharp mind. Together, they became a remarkable team, one that combined her agility, wit, and observation with his intelligence, calmness, and courage. One evening, as the station's artificial sunset bathed the corridors in golden light, Lyra found herself standing beside him on the observation deck. The planet below glimmered in shades of green and blue, and the stars stretched endlessly beyond. "I never thought I'd say this," she said softly, her voice almost a whisper. "But I'm glad I teased you all those times. If I hadn't, I wouldn't have seen this. You're incredible, Alex. More than I imagined a human could be." Alex glanced at her, a small smile forming. "Sometimes strength is revealed in unexpected ways," he said. "And sometimes we discover it through the actions of others." Lyra felt a warmth spread through her chest. It wasn't just admiration. It was something deeper. A recognition of the human capacity for bravery, intelligence, and quiet courage. She realized that her teasing had never been about amusement alone. It had led her to understand something fundamental. Humans could be extraordinary, and Alex was living proof. The two of them stood in silence, watching the stars and the planet below. No words were needed. The events of the past days had revealed truths that couldn't be expressed fully in language. Trust, respect, and admiration had grown between them, forming a bond stronger than teasing, stronger than games, and perhaps stronger than either of them had anticipated. Lyra finally spoke, her voice steady but soft. I think I've learned something important. Not just about humans, but about courage and trust and strength, Alex nodded. We all have lessons to learn, Lyra. Some come from experience, some from observation, and some from those we least expect. She smiled, a rare, genuine expression that reached her eyes. Then thank you, Alex, for teaching me more than I expected, for showing me what humans are truly capable of. Alex returned the smile, calm but warm. And thank you, Lyra, for challenging me, for noticing and for trusting me when it mattered most. As the station rotated silently above the planet, Lyra felt a sense of peace she hadn't known before. The teasing, the playful games, the mischief, it had all led to this moment. She realized that the human she had once seen as a target of amusement had become someone she admired deeply, someone who had revealed not just his own strength, but the potential of an entire species. And in that quiet golden light, Lyra understood something profound. Humans were not to be underestimated. Their courage, intelligence, and quiet determination could achieve what even the most advanced aliens might doubt. Alex had proven it, and she, for the first time, trembled not from fear but from awe, respect, and an unexpected sense of wonder at what humans could accomplish. The stars continued to shine. The planet rotated silently below, and Lyra and Alex stood together, not as teasing adversaries or playful rivals, but as equals, as partners, and as witnesses to the extraordinary potential of the human spirit.